conversations with the self. They're pretty good conversations. Let's see. Self's trying to figure out what to do with self. And having lots of experiences last year or so. Going in and out of like trance states, so that's fun. Took a little getting used to. Had an experience where I was handed an ankh by Anubis, so that was cool. And I looked that up, and that means that I will get to go into the afterlife after this one, so that's always good. And I also, prior to that experience, when I started to hear like all the frequencies and whatnot, I was able to hear like spiritual court. So that was interesting. I don't hear that so much now, but I feel like maybe because I made it through my portion of my assessment. I don't like to call it judgment, but then again you realize that it was spiritual court I was hearing. Because it was happening at weird hours. So then you realize you're like, well, nobody's in court right now because everybody's sleeping. So it's like, oh. So that's happening. There's people going through this awakening that are having those experiences too. And you realize the time that we're in and you're like, oh. So I've been solely focused on my soul. And doing the right thing and just staying in love and light. Because that stuff's like for real. Yeah, so now I just want to deliver messages and continue to channel and try and help as many people as possible realize that, you know, and I feel too, I keep talking about like going through all the experiences in my life and not being able to see a light at the end of the tunnel, and feeling pretty much like I was in the 4-letter H word for many, many years. And it was like something woke me up, and I realized that I was a light in the darkness for many other people. And most with any sense end up coming back later and thanking me. They're like, I didn't want to hear it when you said it, and then I realized you were right and that I could grow from the things that you said, so thank you. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens most of the time. And it's like, well, you're welcome. Over here being my little earth angel self. Confirmation. Check. Hey, buddy. Hey, Obsidian. Come here, kitty. I want to give you cuddles. No? Alright. Anyway, so I'm making it through this process and trying to figure out what I want to do and where I want to go. I haven't been able to make a decision yet. There's so many choices. Like I've sat to know thyself finally, without like all the noise and everybody's opinion. So it's like I finally know what makes me happy, so that's good. You know, I feel like I spent most of my life just doing what I was told I was supposed to do to make it look good to society, rather than feeling whole on the inside and doing things that truly felt fulfilling to my soul and brought me peace. So I'm in this place now, like after sitting to know thyself for so long, where I'm like, what is it that I truly want, regardless of what anybody else thinks? And the funny part is, like I talk about how I had my business, my house, and I did all that, and it looked all pretty on the outside. Now all I want to do, I want to like pack a backpack and jump on my motorcycle and go out to the middle of nowhere, pitch a tent, and just sit out there. And I don't know, maybe move around every so. I've always had like that nomadic gypsy kind of personality, and I feel like that part is part of the reason too why everything felt so dense to me in my life, because I was always trying to live up to the expectation and to what everybody else told me that I was supposed to be, when internally I've always been more of like a free spirit. And I feel like that's a good thing. I don't mind it. And now I'm on the spiritual path too, so it's like I get it. I feel like most of my life was helping me go through like spiritual boot camp. And I was getting my butt handed to me for years. But I didn't realize that's what was going on, right? Kept having people come into my life, and I was allowing it, but because I was yet ready to sit to know thyself. So I kept having these people show up in my life to reflect back to me the things I wasn't yet ready to see within myself and heal. So then I finally did that because I didn't have any other choice. Nothing else was working. I kept going to other places for them to tell me who and what I was, and that doesn't actually work either. So I finally stepped in and was like, sit, meditate your way through this, and figure out who and what you are. So I found myself asking myself that a lot. I'm like, self? Who is self? Who am I? What am I? Where am I gonna go? Yeah, and that's a little isolating, because you get through that process and then you realize like you're on the spiritual path and you just have no desire to get back into that cycle of things. So it's like, what now? And I go over it in my head a lot, but I feel like I need to get it out. So I'll do it this way. Right? It's like I came up with this path to healing, and I really want to work on that because I feel like it's needed today, like now more than ever. So I feel like I'm in this place where part of me just wants to pack a bag and go be my nomadic little self out in the middle of the country and like go out to the woods and meditate and commune with God for a while. Maybe put more of my plans together, I don't know. Or it's like stay around where I am and try and help fix a bunch of people that may or may not even want any help. But I feel like when you start going through the awakening process, you feel like that obligation to like, oh, I gotta go help and save as many people as possible. And then it's like, well, yeah, like you realize you're an archangel and you're like, that's kind of part of my job. But then you also have to recognize that, see, confirmation. So I don't know, I'm in a weird place where I can't make a decision. It's like, oh man, what to do with self? It's like I know I'd be good at it because I know myself, and when I'm running companies and doing all that, I'm darn good. But I'm also so freaking exhausted. But I feel part of the reason why too is because I kept trying to help people, but like my intention was to help, and I speak about this a lot, where my intention was to help, but my reason for doing so was because I didn't want to sit and go through my own pain that I was dealing with, so my reason was off. And now it's like I want to help, like I have the right intentions because it feels good to help people. And the reason is because I have a healing plan that would actually work and help to contribute. And I have sat to know thyself long enough to be able to actually assist rather than enable. I feel like a lot of what I was doing in the past, although at the time I was able to tell myself like I was helping because these were people that didn't have anywhere to go. They were coming out of either treatment centers or halfway houses, and I was doing pretty good, so I was able to help like provide. So I was telling myself that I was helping them when really I was only enabling them because I was not a healed version of myself, and I was giving people places to stay and whatnot, but I was so disconnected that I wasn't actually guiding in any type of real way. Because how can you help to guide or teach somebody something if you haven't yet gone through the process yourself? So I feel like that's what I've been doing for this whole last year, is kind of really getting through that process. And I had to do it on my own, which was tough. You know? And I feel like there's so many people today that are looking for that healing, and just it's really difficult to actually find it anywhere, sadly. For now. You know? Look forward to the day that changes. And there's part of me that's like, it's just easier to deal with animals, so maybe I'll go out and do like conservation work. Because there's lots of places looking for that stuff right now too. And animals and mother guy need a lot of help also, so it's like, what to do with self? I've been writing a lot of stuff. I'd like to talk about a lot, like I'd like to sit with somebody that can assist me with some of the experiences I've been having, because I go into like these trance states now, and I don't always remember or recall like what happens while I'm in them, but I'd like to get some guidance for that. Initially, like when I first started going through the awakening process too, like when it got really intense, I started to have like flashes from past history too, and I don't know if they're past lives in the consciousness field, or I don't know. But I wanted to do past life regression. I feel like that's something I gotta sit with a professional for, because you never know what you're gonna come across, you know? Like, you can be amazing in this life, but you could have been an asshole in another one. You might want to have somebody that knows how to help you figure that stuff out. So I haven't done like meditations on that specifically, since things got really intense, just to be on the safe side, you know? Like, I realized that these are things that you need to be mindful of and recognize. Like, I was so excited in the beginning. Like, initially when the visions and stuff first started to happen, they just started. I wasn't trying to make them happen. I got an urge to meditate, so that's what I did. And I went into vision. Then it went away for like a year. I tried a couple times to see like if I could just make it happen again, and I was unsuccessful. And then all of a sudden, like, I started to feel that urge to meditate again. Like, I could go back into vision, and I did. Visions were very different when I started up again. And then, like, I started to really practice and try and paint, because I was trying to understand what was going on with me. Like, when they first started, I didn't know what Kundalini was. I almost went into the emergency room one day. It happened for like 3 days, and on the third day, I called my mom, and I was like, I think I'm going to go in just to get checked out. I didn't feel bad, but I didn't feel, I felt like my whole body was buzzing. I was like, I don't know what's going on. And then that was the third day. And the only reason that I knew that the visions and the feeling that I was feeling correlated with one another is because when the third vision stopped, so did that feeling. It was like immediate. It just went away. And then I didn't have visions again for like another year. And I was trying. Like, I would come home and I'd sit after work and I was so excited and I was trying to make them happen and I couldn't. And when they started up again, that feeling came back. And now I feel it quite often. But I also, like, I meditate often now, all the time. And it's pretty interesting. It's Kundalini, but I didn't even know what that was when it started. It just shocked my system one day. I was like, wake up! But I was in a really bad place, too, and they speak about in, like, many spiritual texts how people can be in a very bad place when those things happen. And I had gone through so much when my visions started, like, just a lot throughout my whole life. I'd been through a lot, I'd seen a lot, I'd survived a lot, I'd suffered through a lot, I'd lost a lot, and I was in this place where, I spent a long time on my knees. I never lost faith. I always believed that there was something higher than myself, that there was something more. I never lost faith in that, but I felt like I was forgotten. I don't know if that's worse, to feel. Like, I didn't know if I was forgotten or if I just wasn't wanted. That's where I was stuck between. I never got to a point where, like, oh, there's nothing else. I just thought that I was forgotten or that God didn't want me. And then it was like the vision started up. And then I got super excited, probably a little too excited about it. And then it was almost like it got worse after that, but I can't say that it got worse. That's when I was pulled in to sit and go through the meditation. And so it wasn't that it got worse. My life stayed roughly the same, but I had to challenge my thoughts, and I had to go, like, the nightmares got bad. I stopped suppressing. I wasn't going out. I wasn't distracting myself. And again, like, if you feel that you need a doctor, please go in and see one. This is just the journey, that this is something pulled me into this. Like, I went from maybe being able to meditate for like 10 or 15 minutes and be like, okay, to where it was all I could do for hours upon hours every single day for nearly a year. It was the only thing I wanted to do, and that's what I did. And this started, I'd say probably about the beginning of 2025. Like, I had some experiences at the end of 2024, and then about the beginning of 2025 is when it was like I was pulled in to just meditate like all day. That's all I did. And I'm grateful for it. I feel like I'm coming out of the other side of it now. So that's good. And it's in April of 2024, I had actually channeled a message about that, where it was an automatic writing thing, and that spirit was gonna step in to wake me up because, again, I was not in a good place, and that they were gonna change my mindset. And then it was a little less than a year later, I was pulled to just sit in meditation nonstop. So that's what I did. And it's been interesting. It got a little uncomfortable sometimes. You gotta face so many truths and, like, beliefs and everything that everybody told you about what you were and who you were and how to live and what makes life, what makes you a success, what makes you, and then you sit and all of a sudden just all of that shatters, and it was difficult because I really had to sit with myself and be like, what in the world? Like, nothing made sense anymore. I'm like, this reality doesn't make any sense. And then you sit with it, you start to question everything, you start to put your own pieces together and look into other things and research, and you're like, maybe I didn't know enough. I was told that this is how you do it, and this is the way it is, and it's the only way it's done. And you wake up and you're like, I had questions. And I didn't know where to go or who to talk to ask those questions to, because a majority of people are told one thing and that's what they go with. They're like, that's the way it is. That's it. And it's like, that's okay. I was in this place where I was really depressed about that at first, because I'm like, everybody's sleeping. And then, I don't know, I got myself out of that phase where I'm just like, okay, like radical acceptance, you know, some people want to, because it's a process. You don't just like wake up and like, oh yeah, it's great. Like, that's what I thought when I first had my visions. I was like, I'm going through an awakening, something's stepping in. And then it was like, I got to that part where it was, now you gotta challenge everything that everybody ever told you about what you were and what life is and how it's done and how you find salvation. And I had to question all of that, and it broke me down for months. For months, I went through this phase, like I was crying. I was so, because you feel the weight of the reality that we're told to believe versus like the truth of it, or you you're made to see alternative perspectives, and you can't really know yourself unless you're willing to ask yourself how you feel about those things. And the way that I started to feel about those things um, was disruptive to self for a little while. Like, I struggled. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I felt um, very nervous about conversing about the things I was starting to understand. But then you look back at our history when people would challenge their, you know, common belief systems, and you realize the way that that turned out. And that's another thing that starts to, it's part of that eternal part of ourself that your mind not be able to get, because it's not happening in this lifetime, but it's happened whether generationally, ancestrally, to, you know, whether it's past lives or just the weight of the consciousness field that's ever present on this planet that you start to tap into, whatever it is. Like, I was able to feel all of that weight, and I struggled with it greatly. And it's like, now I'm coming out of it and I want to start talking about it, but I'm mindful of the things that I say, because there's certain times, like, where I catch that I'll say things and I'm like, oh, you say that to the wrong person and you're gonna ruffle some feathers. You know, because not, and that's the thing, not everybody is, people say that they want to go through an awakening, but if you're not really truly ready to sit and challenge everything you thought you knew about yourself and about reality, and you can't truly know yourself until you're willing to question those things. You can tell yourself that you're awakened, but if you're not willing to truly ask the hard questions, the things that I feel that so many like, even I'll just speak about how, like, from my time I was a little kid, it was like, you're gonna get married and have kids, and this is what you're gonna do because that's the way it is. And if you don't do that, you're gonna buy a home, you're gonna open a business, and that's the way it is. To, you know, even like belief systems, and that's where, like, I'm cautious on getting into that stuff, because just those are the harder things to question, I think. But from even being told those things, and it was like, I did all that and it looked great on the outside, but internally my soul was hurting so bad, because it's not who I was. And like, I look at that now, and I don't have children of my own. I'm gonna say yet, because who knows, maybe one day. But had the gifts that I had at the time, like, I was always sensitive and I could always see through things, and I was always pointing stuff out to people that they didn't want to hear. And instead of that being nurtured, like, this is a gift, or things that I was into, like, I'm a girl, but I wanted to race motocross. That's what I felt pulled, like, it was so, but it was like, no, she's gotta be a girly girl. So instead, like, I was forced into something else, and although I liked it, it wasn't who I was. And I feel like that hindered my growth as a person so much. Like, had my sensitivity's been seen as a gift rather than a mental illness, because I felt things more deeply than other people, and I could see through the things they weren't willing or wanting to notice about themselves. And had I been pushed in the things that I was excited about, that I would have like been totally dedicated to, like I feel like my life could have gone so different. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because I see who I am today, and the fact that I'm even able to see from that perspective. So I'm grateful for the things that I went through. Like I can look back now and I'm like, now I get it. It was necessary at the time for my growth as a soul, so I could turn around and assist um, to kind of change that trajectory and bring that different perspective to things. Now I feel like I can see it now, where um, it was necessary. And that's why I say, like, spiritual boot camp, like, it was tough going through my life, but I'm coming out of the other side of it, and I see the way that I can speak and the perspective shift that I can offer, and it's like, well, now it makes sense. That's what I was going through it for. So it's like, that's good. Got my butt handed to me. Right, and then that's where you understand, like, where forgiveness and compassion come in. Because again, it's not that anybody was wrong, it's just, even like with my parents, they were told their whole lives, this is how it's done. So what did they do? Like a broken record, did the same thing, because that's how it's done. Well, now the black sheeps of, like, right? Now we're waking up, and I feel like that's what built us, right? And it's like, cool. The rebels are waking up. But on a positive note, I feel too that we're so freaking exhausted, and it's like, at least that's good, because nobody, none of, most of the people that I know from my generation that either stayed, you know, in difficult times here, or had, you know, chosen to go serve, have been through the ringer so much at this point that none of us even want to fight anymore. We're so exhausted. All we want to do is speak and open up a dialogue and have conversation. Like, how do we heal the wounding? How do we fix what was broken? And I think that that's a pretty cool thing. It's learning that stoicism. And most of us are at that point where our souls, and it's like, maybe that's the point. And then whether it's going back generations, ancestrally, past lives, whatever it is, I feel like the majority of us, our souls are so worn out and tired that all we want to do is speak and have conversation about how do we fix what's been broken. And the thing about that is that's difficult, because a lot's been broken. And it takes radical honesty and acceptance and being able to have conversations that hurt, that are uncomfortable, without getting angry. Being able to sit and see your own part in things, to see from multiple different perspectives for other people, understanding the wounding that other people can carry. So many, like self included, for years, like if I would argue, it was to argue to respond and not to understand. It wasn't to really comprehend. And like now I can sit and I can listen to what somebody's saying, and even if they're just projecting onto me the things inside themselves that aren't yet healed, I can hear beyond that and recognize that there's usually a deeper pain that stuff is coming from. That's what wisdom's about. It takes the life experience that has it. What else? What else, little self? I'd like like to speak too. I'm super shy, and that is not my strong thing, so I do it on my phone because it's easier. But I don't know. I wonder about that sometimes. Like, I wonder if I'd be good at that. And it's like, probably. I'd be super duper shy though. I'll do it this way for a while. We'll see what happens. Consider going live one of these days, but even that, I'm like, you can't even see anybody and you're still. Yeah. It's scary. I don't know why, because I don't even edit my videos anyway, so it's like, what's the difference? So it's like, I don't know. I guess it's that mental part, right? It's like, oh. We'll see. Maybe one day. I'm building my courage. I am one that doesn't really like to be seen much. For now, I'm not gonna keep speaking that into existence, though. It's like my last little vice that I'm trying to give up. I can't say that's a dishonest statement. I keep praying for strength to stop doing it, but I haven't made a valid effort at trying to stop. So, there's that part. Other than that, I've been doing pretty good. I gotta get my physical health back in shape. One of these days, I know I just gotta do it, but don't say but. I don't know. I've asked like a couple of people. I don't have close friends these days. For now. But like, I don't know, I've reached out to a couple people like, can you please come over every day and like drag me out of my house and get me to like get going, which it sounds ridiculous, right? But I also have to acknowledge that I spent like 3 years laying in a bed, and about a year of that I was not very good to myself. So it's like I'm trying to get out of that now, and it's like my diet has changed. I drink a lot of water now, meditate a lot, so my mind's doing better. But physically, what I did to myself and being in like literally bedridden, like I wouldn't leave my house for months. I just stayed in bed. Trying to overcome that now has been a challenge. And prior to these things, and what put me in bed anyway, was the fact that I was grieving deeply, and I was grieving the people that when I would get like that and like have to like crawl into my little hole that I would go into, I was grieving the people that used to pull me out of that. So that, and I'm trying not to use that as an excuse, although but I'm working on it. I could work harder on it, to be honest. I reached out to a couple people like, can you please help me with this? But then like I feel like I gotta be mindful, because like I've tried, and one person was like, yeah, don't worry, I got you, I'm gonna help you. And then like the very next time I saw you, he's like, yes, we're gonna do that. And he's like, oh, so he asked me out like right after that, and I was like, well, there goes that. And I mean, like, I could still have him help me, I guess, but I don't like to hurt anybody's feelings, and like I already made it very clear to him. But then it just feels weird. So I don't know. feel like I might just have to get over that though and just be like, self, you need the help. So if that's all you got, they just. Everybody else so busy, which I get. I totally get. Not mad about it, it just, I'm in this place where, like, I want the help and need the help, and I just don't really know where to go to find it. So, like, other than that, in the meantime, I work on my writing, and I work on my videos, and I read my book. Eventually, I'll get my life story out there. I was always told I had to write a book. I couldn't find a reason to do it because I didn't have a good ending. I was still a hot mess. Everyone's like, you should write a book. Your story is bananas. I'm like, and say what? It doesn't make any sense if you can't put a little hope into it. But now it's like I sat and meditated for a year and I got my little plan that I'm working on for healing, which I still want to get to. Trying to find the right people to assist in that process. And I'm very mindful who I bring in. But it's like now I'm working on it because I feel like I got, it's a better ending to the story. I get to ending. That's not the right word. Not for the story. Anyway, I feel like my story is just getting started now. I was going to spiritual boot camp before, and now it's like the real story starts. It's got my butt handed to me by the darkness my whole life. It's like, but I was allowing it to happen. It's like my soul, that's what it signed up for. It's like, I'm gonna come down there. I'll let you guys kick my ass for half my life, and then I'm gonna turn around and kick yours. So now we'll see, We'll see what this looks like. But that's the thing, you wake up and you realize that you're the one that's been carrying the light, and that's why the dark's been kicking your butt, because you were the light and you didn't know it. And then you turn your light all the way up and you're like, oh, here we go. At least the light's nicer about it. What else? What else, little soul? Soul. Let's see if I can get some talking points here. Phoenix Rising, I feel like that's what I'm in right now. Right around the corner. Amen. Truth seeker. Love yourself most. Step out of the dark. Key to hidden knowledge. Overcome obstacles. Old soul. Getting info on ancestors. I like those guys. Begin to rebuild. write cards to myself, talking points, or just to, I don't know, check the energy in the field. But I don't do positive stuff. That's it. Just positive stuff. Because it's good for your own frequency and anybody else that sees it, you know? Be kind, stay humble. Eventually I'll get into this. I feel like I gotta practice my channeling more, but you really gotta heal yourself. I feel like to channel correctly and properly for something higher than yourself, you know. Less beyond belief. Use discernment. Radical acceptance. Let's talk about self. There's been lots going on in my noggin. It's like I want to talk about. I guess I can on video. I feel like I gotta be mindful. Maybe I should present things as questions rather than statements. Got lots of questions up here. Right, but then I gotta recognize too, like the whole frequency thing. People that aren't looking for alternative answers or paths, typically they're not even gonna see 4444, this kind of stuff anyway. And I still, even though like I sat in meditation for like a whole year, I still feel like I need to go out into the middle of nowhere and do it again. Because I stayed local where there's a lot of other energies, and I spoke about it in another video, how I feel that when you're trying to truly connect back to the source, that, and I feel too, this is why you see it all throughout like our history, all the way to our ancient history, where people are pulled into solitude, and I feel like that's because we as human beings, we're energetic beings, and when you're in a place around many other people, I feel like almost like that can create a I think the right way to say it. You have a more clear connection, I feel, when you're out, not mixing your energy with too many other people, to then connect to the source directly and have a more clear conversation, so to speak. So it's like I did pretty good on my own, and most of it I spent awake in my room or just sitting outside anyway. But now it's like I want to go out into like nature and just sit out there for a while. And the weather's nice too, so it's like the perfect time to do it. I'm like, pack a bag and be like, see you guys later. I just like, it's almost like I can't even, I can tell people that's what I'm going to go do, but then they always look at me sideways. They're like, you're going to what? Oh, it's like, never mind. They're like, are you cray cray? I'm like, maybe. You're not cray cray, a little mental. It says source. Science says so. Happy New Year. Self. Self. Anybody else that sees this, maybe? Happy New Year. I didn't do anything. I stayed home. I thought about doing something, then it got about time to get ready, and I was like, nah. Feels like too much work. Part of me wanted to go out just to like network a little bit, because I realized I'm working on a project, it'd probably be good, but then there's part of me that's just like, I don't even want to. So I sat at home and I wrote and drank some tea. That's what I did. I wrote, I watched some videos. Meditated for a while. That's what I did. I wrote a list of all the things that I know that I like, because I sat to know thyself finally. I pretty much already knew these things, but I think it's important to write it down. Oh, writing's important, you know? It's manifesting over here. I think it's important to know what makes self happy, you know? I think that's a question everybody needs to ask themselves. Part of me also just wants to go out and go ghost hunting. And just record that stuff. But I'm also super weird. Like, I'll go ghost hunting. I'll do my videos on my awakening. Jump on my motorcycle and just, I don't know, see where the good Lord takes me. Like, where are we gonna go today? But I feel like that's the point, right? If we're down here as many manifestations of the Source itself, trying to assist in helping Source figure out what and who it is, then really the whole point of coming into an incarnation would be to help Source figure out who and what it is. And how do you do that if you're listening to everybody else tell you who and what you are? Doesn't even make sense. You guys aren't making any sense anymore. And that's the thing. How do you free your soul until you truly sit to know thyself? And that was something I had to do. I was trying to find salvation in every possible thing outside of myself, because the hardest thing that I ever had to do was sit to know thyself truly. Like, I kind of had an idea, but I never took the time to get through my pain and through my trauma to really sit and say, who am I on the other side of this? Without trying to keep up with the Joneses and make it look all pretty on the outside. And I was good at that. I was really good at that. It just, inside, I was dying inside. You know, and it's like now I'm going through this whole death and rebirth process. And it's pretty beautiful. It's not easy. But now I can rebuild. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to rebuild and how and where and with who. I'd like to sit and philosophize with some people, because that's not something people really do anymore. They're like, oh, we figured it out. And then a bunch of us are waking up and was like, did we? Did we though? I feel like we got part of the information, and I feel like we're missing some other parts. Let's remember and put it all back together. So yeah. Anyway, an hour in already. So that's good. Pause this, do another one later maybe, who knows. I'll find some new things to talk about. Just conversations with self and soul. Reconnecting to the Source. I wasn't doing anything else, so that's good. I was for a while. And then Source stepped in and was like, would you remember who I am, please? So that's what I did. I feel like that's what happened. That's why the visions came in. And that was like, Source was like, hello, you're doing everything other than knowing thyself. That's what I did. It's a long time, and I had to really challenge my thoughts and make sure that I understood and knew who I was. Because you can think that you know, but when you're so involved in the rest of the world and showing face and just making it look good, then truth be told, you really have no fucking idea. You have no idea. So it's been a journey, and I'm just going to keep documenting it and recording it and allowing people to see my progress. And we'll see how this goes. Amen.